Hello, World Wide Web. My name is Renee. Welcome to the Renaissance. In today's video, I'm going to be recreating what was originally a colored pencil drawing, but this time I'm going to be recreating it in watercolor. The original drawing, which you'll see on screen here, was an assignment in high school in roughly 2013. The assignment was to create a mandala and use only colored pencils. Now, I could have made a much more vibrant one using only colored pencils, but I decided to go all out and use a combination of watercolor, colored pencils, and chalk pastels, though I use very little chalk pastel. I started the drawing first by creating several concentric circles. I used that to make sure that the heights of all my trees were even. And then I started sketching in ideas for how to make it more complicated, more detailed. I really wanted to have more to the piece than the original piece had. First, I tried adding more trees, but I couldn't quite get it to look right, so then I decided to make each tree more detailed, and I added some rocks in between the trees so that I wouldn't be changing the silhouette and I wouldn't be detracting from the colorful background, but I would have more visual interest. All of the sketching was done on mixed media paper, and then I used a light box and colored pencil to transfer the image onto watercolor paper. I start painting the background first, and it's just purple and pinks in a random swirly pattern. In the middle of painting the background, I also begin painting the eyeball shapes, yellow and orange, to look like the sun. Next, I started painting the trees in a combination of sap green and, I believe, lemon yellow. I want the colors to be splotchy and very vibrant. Following that, I lay down a base of yellow ochre for all of the wood of the trees and a kind of neutral brown color for the knot of the trees where the suns rest. I believe that this is the only part where I use chalk pastel, and I'm using it here to make the galaxy-esque background look smoother. I'm just going over the purple with purple and the pink with pink to make it all more of a flat color and get rid of some of those watercolor effects, though I'm not getting rid of them entirely, just muting them. In order to avoid streaks, I'm shaving off bits of the chalk with a knife and pushing it into the paper with a paintbrush, a relatively stiff paintbrush, otherwise it'll do nothing but push the chalk around. The glare made it hard to see as it was happening, but I go around the outside of the piece with a light wash of blue that is later going to become water. Then I deepen up the darks around the suns to make those bright colors pop even more before moving on to the shadows in the trees. I spend the most time on this part, starting very light with my shadows and then going darker and darker, eventually doing a very light wash of this brown over all of the wood, having decided that yellow ochre was just too bright for my highlights. At some point I also colored the cartoon beehive with yellow ochre and burnt umber. I also went over the rocks and boulders with a very light wash of Payne's Gray, which is just ultramarine and black mixed together if you're not aware. It is mine and many others' favorite thing to use for grays and blacks. At this point, I'm going to leave you with a musical interlude and come back to say more in a few minutes. At this point, it's all very fine details. I'm still darkening the shadows in the trees. I'm coloring in flowers. I added detail to the water. I'm coloring in lizards and snakes and vines, and shadowing the rocks and coloring in butterflies. After this, I'm going to go over all of the trees and the smaller details with colored pencil and make everything look more crisp and refined. At this point, I'm on to final touches, and you see my hand resting on the bit of scrap paper I've been using to test colors. My hand is resting on this bit of scrap paper to protect all of the things that I've already done and prevent smudging. I really hope that you all have enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And please like, subscribe, and ring the little bell.